All right, thanks for attending. This is the Unleash Trusted AI Agentforce with Gemini session, and appreciate everyone being here. Forward-looking statement, I'm sure you've seen this a couple times this week. It is actually very applicable in this session because we will be talking about some things that aren't quite released yet. So please make your purchasing decisions based on what's available. And I will point out during the talk today when we're going to be covering things that will be coming soon. So thank you for being customers and partners, and thank you for being here today. Thank you for being at Dreamforce this week with us. Hope you're having a great Dreamforce so far. All right, so this session is going to be a couple of different parts. The first part will be myself and my esteemed colleague. I'll let him introduce himself here in just a second. And then we have a customer who's going to join us a little later towards the end of the session for some great Q&A. And we're really excited to have Brandon from Berlin Packaging come up and join us a little bit later. So Dr. Ali.
Yes, thank you so much. Ali Arsanjani. I lead Applied AI Engineering and have the honor of working with Darvish and team on the integration between Gemini and what you'll be hearing about today. So we're very excited about this partnership.
Yeah, thank you. So we'll be presenting this session together. And this session it has multiple dimensions, right? Of course, it's an Agentforce session, but it's more than that. This is in some ways very much a platform talk about Gemini availability within Salesforce, not just in Agentforce, but in all of our features. And so just keep that in mind. This is a core part of our Agentforce strategies, our partnership with Google, and we're just gonna get into it. So Gemini for Agentforce, there's a few different things to know. I'm gonna do 2 quick slides and then I'm gonna get into a demo and show you some real stuff. And by the way, the demo that I'm gonna show you is pilot. So thinking back to the forward-looking slide, what you're going to see today is functionality that is not generally released yet. And that's just always my little bit of fair warning, just in case I have a blip or two along the way. Hopefully I won't, but so Gemini for Agentforce. So first of all, Gemini's available. It's been available actually in our platform for probably, I don't know, a couple of years now in Prompt Builder and 9 Studio and other places. So you can, what we're now working on though, with our teams is the integration of the latest and greatest Gemini models into other Agentforce features. Specifically, this session is going to be about the Gemini in Agentforce, the planning and reasoning engine, right? What's otherwise known as the Atlas reasoning engine, which is the core brains of Agentforce. And so we've had a lot of customers who are joint Salesforce and Google customers who have said, we love the idea of Agentforce, but we have a great partnership with Google and we'd really prefer to use Gemini for our agents. And Gemini just has some other, natural inherent advantages, which Dr. Ali is going to cover, so I won't steal his thunder. But that, and then also it's good to know that if you have your own instance of Gemini running on Vertex or somewhere else, you can also connect that and use that for prompts and custom agent actions in the platform as well, right? So I'll get into some details on this when I get in the demo, but I just wanted to lay some groundwork here. So when I get into the demo, what I'm going to show you is some Gemini powered things, but I just wanted to share this high level architecture slide. So over on the far left of this slide are all of the Salesforce generative AI applications. So Prompt Builder, Agentforce, things that you build yourself. Those all go through a common layer, the Agentforce Trust layer and the Salesforce Secure LLM Gateway. So we have Gemini endpoints that we manage through our LLM gateway that run on Google Vertex. And they're just out of the box available to you as customers to use for your applications. So that's what's represented here on the right side of that screen are the Gemini models actually running over on the Google platform. All right, so with that, I'm actually gonna switch over to a demo because I'm a product manager who just likes to do demos because I think it's best to see these things. So I'm going to walk you through some basics first. So if you're already familiar with this, just bear with me. I'll get to the good stuff here in a minute. So from an admin perspective, if you haven't done this already in your org, the first thing to know is you have to enable generative AI in your Salesforce org. So that's the screen I'm on here. So I'm enabling generative AI functionality in Salesforce. The one thing that maybe you haven't seen before is we recently released a new feature called Model Provider Management, which is also in setup at the org level, where you have the option as a customer to go in and decide what model providers you're going to allow in your org. And you'll notice that Google Gemini models are on that list. Now, these are all on by default. And so you have the option if you want to disable some, but so Google Gemini, when you enable generative AI, Google Gemini models will just be there ready to use. All right, so the next thing I'm going to show you is Einstein Studio Model Builder, which is a great product, and I don't have time to really do it justice in this session, but what I want to show you is if I go in there, you'll notice that the Google Gemini models are right there waiting for you to take advantage of already. These are the Salesforce managed instances of Gemini. You could bring your own instances as well. All right, so those are the Gemini models. Those Gemini models can then be used in a variety of places. I'm going to only focus on a couple for this talk, but Prompt Builder, many of you have probably seen Prompt Builder. It's been out for quite a while now. But if you go into Prompt Builder and you want to build a prompt template that's going to be used either standalone or in an Agentforce custom action, you'll notice that in my model dropdown over here, I have Google Gemini models available to me. So we have the Flash, Pro, 2.0, and we have 2.5 models now as well, right? So I'm primarily going to be using 2.5 Flash for this presentation for a variety of reasons, but that's the one we'll be using mostly. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to flip to Agentforce. Before I do that, I need to say that I'm going to be going into a demo of a fictional company named Wello. They make IT security products and services. So it should feel like a familiar experience. I don't know if Colin is here, but Colin is one of our solution engineers. I have to give him a shout out because he did a ton of work on the demo for me. So thank you, Colin. If you're watching this later, I appreciate it. So in Agentforce Studio, this is the agent that we're going to use. It's called the Tech Agentforce Service Agent. And if I open that up I'm going to go ahead and open that up in Agentforce Builder. Now, this is not the new builder that you saw this morning. This is the classic builder, but it will soon be in the new builder as well. You'll see that I have a number of topics for this agent. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so you can see it better. So these topics, many of which are custom specifically for this agent, are all using Gemini, okay? They're using, in this case, Gemini 2.5 Flash. And this org that I'm working in is part of the pilot that we're running right now. And so on the back end, we have flipped this org to use Gemini rather than any of the other models. So everything that you're going to be seeing in the demo is actually powered 100% by Google Gemini. So I'm not going to drill too much into any of the topics, but you'll notice there are several of them, right? Case management, customer identification, so on and so forth. They're all working. They're all using prompt templates and flows and a variety of other just things that are normal within Agentforce topics. Okay. With that, I'm now going to change personas, pretend for a minute that I'm the customer service agent, customer service representative. I'm not going to use agent, customer service representative at Wello, and I'm looking at a customer record in Service Cloud. This customer record is for Nolan Bailey. Nolan is a very great customer for us. He buys lots of stuff. Therefore, he has lots of open cases with us with questions and problems and whatnot. And so one thing I want you to note is right now the status on this case for Nolan is set at waiting on customer. Hopefully you can kind of see that. So that's important as I go through the demo because the agent is going to take charge here in a minute and actually do some tasks on Nolan's behalf. All right, so we're going to come back to this case in a moment. And what I'm going to do now is change personas again. I'm actually going to log in to the experience site, and I'm going to log in here as Nolan, although you don't know that yet. I'm going to end my previous chat that I was testing earlier. Give me just a second. I'm going to refresh this so we get a clean start. All right, so here's the experience site that Nolan is coming into, just a standard consumer-facing website, and we have Agentforce enabled here in our Salesforce experience site. So I'm going to go ahead and instantiate a chat with the agent. So you'll notice it pops up, again, powered by Gemini. this agent is the one I was showing you in Agent Builder a minute ago. So it pops up, it says, hey, I'm Lola, I'm a service agent. And one of the first things I like to do if I'm going in, I want to know if this agent actually knows who I am, so that am I going to get a personalized experience here? So I'm just going to say, hello, who am I? And the agent should come back and it's going to say, hey, you're Nolan Bailey, I know you. And we're passing an authentication from that user ID so that the agent in Agentforce knows who I am, which is good because now it has access to all of the relevant things in Salesforce. So next question is, I open a lot of cases with Wello. As Nolan Bailey, I'm a very large user of their products. How many open cases do I have? And do any of them require my attention? So we'll see what it comes back with. So what it does is it comes back, it looks at my cases in Salesforce. It tells me I have, well, you can see here, it says I have 19 other open cases, but the one that it gave me some details on is this case that ends in 116. And it says there's one case out of these 20 cases that I have that actually does require my attention. Now, I don't know why it requires my attention, but apparently it does. And I can just say, why is this waiting on me? Right, 100% going through Agentforce to Gemini 2.5 Flash. And it tells me, it says, this case is waiting on you because we don't know what product you're actually asking about for real-time monitoring. Well, the product that I'm using is called Data Protector. So I'm just going to type in Data Protector. And it's going to come back and it's going to say, well, let's see what it says. It says, would it like me to add the customer's response as Data Protector to my case? So the customer service person doesn't even have to touch that case. I'm just telling it what product I'm using, and I'm just going to say, sure. Sure, that's great. That would be great. So it will go ahead and it will update that case on my behalf. And it's just going to tell me, all right, I've updated that case. And then it says, based on your interest in real-time monitoring, which is what I'm asking about in this case, would you like to learn more about our company? It's basically upselling me, right? Would you like to know about our security monitoring solution? I say, yes, that would be wonderful. Tell me about it. So I say yes. And after I say yes, it comes back and it gives me some information about their real-time monitoring solution. And then, and this is where it gets even more interesting, is Agentforce makes the decision based on the reasoning and planning it's doing and the actions that I provided to Gemini. It's saying, would you like me to do an analysis on your case and your products that you already use to figure out what would be the right solution here? And I'm just going to say, sure, yes. And what it's going to do, this is the agent has an action where it allows it to go out and query BigQuery. So it's actually going out to Data Cloud and to BigQuery to get all the product details about my security solution from my products that I use. And it comes back and it says, well, you have a threat risk score of X because you have a growing number of security profiles. And this data is all pulled real time on the back end from BigQuery on Google into the agent through the reasoning that Gemini is doing here. So it comes back and it says, you know, your current risk score is this. And then I'm just going to ask it. Now I'm interested because I'm a little nervous, right? I'm going to say how much is this? I'll just say how much and see if it picks up on that. Yeah, okay. How much? And it comes back and it gives me a list price. So it's giving me a quote in real time based on who I am as a customer, products I have, the usage that I have. And then last but not least, it asked me if I'd like a quote. And I'm just going to say, sure. Send it to my email, please. So then the agent has to think about, okay, do I have this person's email? Can I send him an email? And what it's doing now is it's creating a real quote, which would show up as a PDF style quote in my email. Well, pretty straightforward stuff. And it says, okay, your quote's been created and it's been emailed to you for your signature. So end to end. Now, you know, the risk is always with live. I like live demos. I'm kind of old school that way. We do a lot of pre-recorded videos at Dreamforce, but I like to actually make stuff work. So this is 100% that agent experience was through those topics I showed you, fully using Gemini for the reasoning, the planning, and then making all the decisions about what to do and going to BigQuery to get the data, so on and so forth. So that's sort of the end of that experience for Nolan, but you can see that that was a pretty nice baseline customer service experience, and it never, I could have injected a human in the loop if I'd chosen to escalate it, but I didn't actually need to because the agent took care of everything I needed. So that's done, and then the last thing I wanted to do was just go back over to Nolan's record. So this is the case that I started showing you earlier. Now, if I refresh this case, I'll point out two things. The agent went ahead and moved the status from waiting on customer to now it's in status working. That happened on the back end in my Service Cloud case. No human intervention needed. And the agent also went ahead and updated the notes to reflect what the product was that I told the agent that I was interested in. So all of that happened through those instructions that were given to Gemini via Agentforce. Okay, so that's the end-to-end demo. Hopefully that's interesting. I think it's just a nice common scenario that a lot of our customers are trying to achieve of deflecting the case, letting the agent handle the case, and actually then even attempting to make some additional revenue along the way. Last thing in the demo I want to show you before I turn it over to Dr. Ali for a few minutes is if you are going to use Gemini in your org and you do something like what I just did, you don't actually really see Gemini there, right? You see the Agentforce experience and there's prompts and other things. How do I know? Well, we have this feature called the audit log in Data Cloud. So you can turn this on in your org. It's called the Generative AI Audit and Feedback Log, I think. It's an org level setting. And if you turn that on, it comes with a bunch of pre-canned, out-of-the-box reports and dashboards. The data from all of your Gemini usage in Agentforce or Prompt Builder will be logged in tables within Data Cloud, and then you can come in here and you can look at it later. And in this case, you can see, and this is timestamped today, so again, it's all real. You can see that there's a whole bunch of columns I could add, but I simplified it. I dropped it down to just a handful of columns so that you could see, in this case, Agentforce, the planning and reasoning engine, is using Gemini 2.5 Flash, and the model provider is Vertex AI. That's just what we, on the back end, that's what the model provider name that we gave it. So that allows you to verify that, in fact, all of your users and your customers' Agentforce usage is going where you think it's going, to Gemini. And then I can slice and dice this a bunch of different ways. I can look at different features. I can actually put in the full prompt payload and see the responses from Gemini. There's lots of things I could do here. But for the sake of time, I just wanted to make sure you had a chance to see this. And this is the actual log from the agent that I was using today. Now, the timestamp on this is from a dry run I did earlier today, but still the point stands that it actually is using Gemini. Okay. Hopefully that was compelling. Yeah, thanks. Thank you. Always lovely when the demo gods are on my side. All right.
That was a compelling demo.
Thank you. All right, and now I'm going to go ahead and put this back in slideshow mode and turn it over to Dr. Ali to hear from the Google Maestro himself. And here, if you want to use that.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You bet. And I'll have a seat for
that would be great. Yeah. That was really, really compelling because what you showed, Darvish, is the end-to-end enactment of a business process workflow that not only uses Gemini, but solves a real-world problem.
Yep.
And so with that, I'm going to go into a little bit more about what Gemini is all about. As you know, we're partnering together with Salesforce and have been for the past couple of years. Google has been in the business of building the foundations of AI. We started in 2017 with the transformer architecture, fast forward to Gemini and thinking models today. But as we see this progression of very specialized models and then our thinking models like the Gemini 2.5 Pro, we now are in the age of agents. Now, what are the characteristics that we need? The first one is strong planning and reasoning, which Darvish described as what is the planner service, the reasoning engine behind Agentforce. And in this case, he chose, for this particular demo, Gemini 2.5 Pro. So the other characteristics that we generally need are sophisticated world models. Think if you have a supply chain disruption example, you have to have knowledge of geography. Think Google Maps, location awareness. You need active task execution. When Darvish had his demo and there was a function call to perform a task, the agent was able to call a tool and perform an action. We need semi-autonomous operation. As Darvish showed, you showed the human in the loop wasn't there. The agent took the action on behalf of the human. And in some cases, you need to do conflict resolution, and consensus building between agents. So agents need to be able to negotiate with one another. And as you go through the process within your organization, you'll find single LLMs, and then when you get to level 4 of sophistication and maturity, it's multi-LLMs, multi-agent systems, and then at level 6, you have self-corrective, you have self-improving agents. As you go from each level to another, you have certain patterns that you need to implement, certain design considerations that you need to make in order to get to the next level. But all of this is accelerating the application development through agents and accessing foundation models that are embedded in your applications, that retrieve information fast, accurately, and make function calls with precision is extremely important. So looking a little bit around what Gemini offers, there are different tiers of Gemini family of products. We have Gemini 2.5 Pro, which is our most capable model. It won the gold medal at the Math Olympiads recently, for example. So it's a very good reasoning and planning model. We have Flash, which Darvish showed, which is extremely responsive and fast, so price-performance ratios are there. Gemini Flash Lite is even faster, even more performant, but for very specialized tasks, not as robust, not a thinking model. We have a live API capability, which allows you to actually speak to the model. And the live API capabilities are enabling you, think of a call center, but instead of talking to a representative, you're talking to a real LLM in this case. So you can pick and choose from this model family, depending on the size of the model, the price-performance ratio you want, the use case you want. Thinking models for orchestration would be Gemini Pro. Activities executed would typically be Gemini Flash. You can have super specialized model with Gemini Flash Lite. On some of the leaderboards, I just have a quotation here for you. It shows the reasoning and non-reasoning models and the analysis of these models across the board and what their capabilities are. These are based on 7 evaluations, 7 different types of tests that are run, math, science, reasoning, those types of capabilities. When we're building agents, the topic of today is about trusted AI. So if you're building trust, you need to look at starting with human in the loop. Okay, so what is human in the loop? Human in the loop is when I first started driving my wife's car, which is a Tesla, and she bought it, she would tell me, hey, why don't you use this self-driving feature? And I would say, I actually know how these models are built. I would not trust to do it. So eventually, over time, we had longer trips, and I would get, tired. So I started to use this self-driving feature to a degree. And gradually, I found out some of the corner cases, like if you're going towards a light, and the light is yellow, and if as you're approaching the light, it turns red, it will come to a stop. And you don't want that because there are cars behind you. So this is the human in the loop. I have my tip of the toe on the accelerator, waiting. If it is passing and everything is good, I accelerate it slightly so we get past the light. So with these applications, human in the loop capabilities, you need a human to approve in certain cases. In other cases, like what Darvish showed, we have reliability, repeatability. We don't need the human in the loop. A modular architecture is a really good thing. We all know that from software engineering. But typically, these days, when we have less sophisticated systems, people take large applications and package that as an agent. That's not really a very good idea. Yes, you may need a mega agent to orchestrate things, like the planner service, ability to orchestrate different things, but it is not a huge application. It is an AI orchestration that pulls things together with smaller agents. You need a centralized control plane for orchestration and for governance. So think policy adherence at the business level, like a planner service, and then the guardrails for the agents at the governance layer. And of course, you need proactive security and sandboxing with zero trust and least privilege set of capabilities. So you'd use short-lived time box credentials so that and give agents only the required set of capabilities that they should have to perform their task. So building agents is not necessarily very easy, but product managers like Darvish and at Google, we have the capabilities to build products that make it easy for you to use these products, like with Agentforce and powered by Gemini, for example. So you want a variety of these capabilities. I'm going to touch on one of them, reliability and predictability, which is you don't want agents to get stuck in a loop. You want them to only pursue the amount of thinking that is necessary in order to accomplish a problem. They should be able to call tools. They should have security and governance in place so you can assign them. You should be able to choose from different models. You should be able to instrument to see how these agents are doing. So taking agents into production is not a trivial task. This is a blog that you can read, which talks about all the challenges that you may face and some of the ways of solving them. So at Google, we've open sourced a set of capabilities. You know about Gemini family. The framework we use to develop, if you roll up your sleeves and want to build something, that's the Agent Development Kit, which is open source. In Agentforce, you don't have to roll up your sleeves and build something. It is a low-code, no-code capability that enables you to do things extremely fast, automate your business processes and your agentic workflows. The platform that we have to run things on in the back end is a platform we call Agent Engine, that is our runtime. And we have sets of capabilities that allow you to surface these on top of the Google platform as well. So one of the other things that we have, which is important from an agentic perspective, we have a thinking budget. Think of it as a per diem. If you go to a new city and you have a certain amount you can charge back to your expense to your company, you can take thinking tokens and tell Gemini, you can only expend this many tokens. And so that thinking budget allows you to control cost. And lastly, the capabilities for the live APIs are there, which you can speak directly through multimodal input, vision, sound, and text to an endpoint, which is an actual Gemini endpoint. So you're not talking to a chatbot, you're talking to the LLM itself. And these allow you to have a very natural conversation, multi-turn conversation, robust pickup and recovery from aspects that you may have within your workflow. So with that, we'd like to introduce Brandon Yackel, who's the applications manager at Berlin Packaging.
Thank you, Dr. Ali.
Thank you, sir.
It's always fun when we can get a customer on stage with us. So thank you for joining us, Brandon.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I hadn't worked with Brandon until recently, and we've had a couple of good conversations here in the last few weeks. And so I'm excited to have him here and hear a little bit about what you've been working on. So I'm just going to start off by just saying, why don't you share who you are and what Berlin Packaging does just briefly so we can then get into some details.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So I'm Brandon Yackel. I've been working on the Salesforce platform for about 16 years now. I work for Berlin Packaging, as you mentioned. Berlin Packaging is what we call a hybrid packaging supplier. So we're not a manufacturer, we're not a distributor, but we take the best of both worlds, add in a number of value-added services, and kind of get a little bit of our...
I think they have trouble hearing, so maybe it's just... Oh, sorry.
Can you hear me now? Okay. So we're an international company, operations here in North America, EMEA, and APAC, but there's still a lot of people maybe haven't heard of us. Have people not heard of Berlin Packaging? That's what I thought. So I noticed you're drinking a can of water there. That's the type of stuff that we do, right? You find, and a ton of products that you probably use every day, maybe multiple times a day in order to realize it's us. If you're thinking about the happy hour you're going to afterwards and maybe the Metallica concert later, definitely going to run into our stuff there. We do a number of, a lot of work in the spirits packaging, the mixtures that go into your drinks, wine bottles. You'll find our stuff at home in your laundry detergent, your dishwasher detergent, hand sanitizers, whatnot. So basically, if you have a product that goes into a container and needs a top, we do that.
Got it. Thank you. Excellent. So let's see. If I recall correctly, when you started thinking about how to use Google models and Salesforce together, a lot of it had to do with challenges with the sales team, right?
Right?
Yeah. So tell us what led you to like even consider the solution and what the business problem was.
Sure. So we have what I would consider a relatively robust implementation. We've been live for 9 years now with Salesforce. We use several different clouds. We're integrated with our ERP. We're integrated with other third-party systems, which is awesome. But it also creates a problem of how do people find data, right? It's all there, but how do I find what I want when I need it, right? So that was sort of the challenge, and the problem that goes along with that is people are spending a lot of time trying to find data. It's there, it's in a report, it's in a dashboard, it's somewhere, but who can remember all that stuff, right?
Knowing that you've been a longtime Salesforce customer and you have data scattered all around, like what about Gemini and Agentforce and Prompt Builder and these other tools? How did you think about the solution that was going to solve some of these challenges, and what are you actually doing for the solution?
Right. So we started hearing from a lot of our newer sales reps and even some of the older sales reps. I can't find data on the platform, right? So we started, that was kind of our catalyst, I guess, for getting into Agentforce, right? Let's help people find data simply and not force them to remember what the report or the dashboard it is, right? So out of the box, Agentforce works awesome with some of the standard objects and whatnot, but we have a lot of customization over the last 9 years that it just couldn't follow along, to be quite honest, right? So that drove us to create a number of different prompts powered by Gemini, right? And an example of that would be to find data off platform. Our reps can type in, hey, show me the last 5 orders for customer XYZ. And that's integrated with a MuleSoft API that goes and gets data from the data warehouse, brings it back, shows them, here's your 5 orders, right? Similar, show me the invoices that go along with these orders. Same thing, go into our data warehouse via MuleSoft, here's your data, right? And then prompts that are actually get data from on platform. We have sourcing requests as an example, right? If a rep is looking for that can, but maybe it's not a stock can, they'll create a sourcing request and our sourcing team will go out, try to find that can somewhere. Hard to keep track of all the requests you have. So it's real easy now for a rep to go, hey, show me all my open sourcing requests for, glass or metal commodity types. And then the last one I'll share more if you want, but I really kind of like this one. It's super simple. It's super helpful. But we get leads in from various places and they're spam leads, right? I know people are going to our website and just type that finger in their name, their hand in the name field and sending stuff in. Our lead people spend a lot of time looking through, trying to determine, is this real? They got to mark it, spam, unqualified, whatnot. We take our leads now and we send them through a Gemini-powered prompt, basically pretty simple instructions that say, hey, look at this and tell me what you think. Is it spam? If it is, update it to AI mark spam and set the status to unqualified and don't let anybody look at it, right? Just let it go into the system and be ignored.
Yeah. I love that example. I mean, it is a simple one, but it's one that I think there's those untapped things that a lot of folks haven't thought about. And a lot of the use cases that I've personally been involved with on customers have been around service. And I like your stories because it is definitely more about sales. Now, here's a bit of a loaded question. I'm sure your sales reps love using a CRM package, right? So that they can enter data into it. And I'm sure you probably have some requirements around that. I'm trying to get to, do you think that their sort of mindset is changing are they getting more value out of it as opposed to just seeing somewhere they have to put data in?
Right. I know you're being sarcastic. I've heard it from people directly. Like, I'm just putting data in here because somebody's asking me to do this, right? But I think when people see this, they see how easy it is, how effective it is. It's kind of hard to say like, well, I don't want to use this, right? I mean, why would you not want to use it? It's going to type in a simple English question and get my answer back.
Right.
I definitely think it's maybe, people leaning towards, okay, maybe this isn't so bad after all. Right?
So maybe adoption of Salesforce will go up through the use of AI.
Absolutely,
Gemini.
right? I mean, we have a number of processes that are like, people internally won't work with you unless you're following the process, right? But
Sure.
There are some things they don't have to do, but this definitely, I think it's going to bring people to it.
Yeah.
And, less of a...
Makes sense.
I suppose.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. So then what's next? I mean, it sounds like you have more plans and other things you'd like to tackle. I know there's only so much time in the day, but what are you thinking about next?
That's funny. That's what Vicki and I were just talking about earlier.
Yeah.
So much time. I wish we had 30
Yeah.
hours today, right? No, we are definitely going to continue on with this. One example is I mentioned the invoice and order retrieval. That's internal, right? Well, that's kind of laying the foundation for our website for customers, kind of doing what you were doing there earlier. You go to our website and have them 24/7 say, "Where's my order? Where's the shipping information? What's the invoice?" So that's one place that we're going. We actually have another project that's supposed to be going live, and it's about customer churn. So we are feeding a number of signals to a prompt, and that prompt is evaluating all those signals based on instructions, different weights, and pops out a score that, what's the propensity for that customer to churn, to leave us. And it also throws out a short little concise blurb of why it got to that score, and then a little more detail with a bulleted list of here's like the most important signals that drove us to get to that score. So those scores will be stored on the platform over time. You can see, is the customer going the wrong way? I need to do something before it's too late. Or, hey, it's staying steady. Let's keep doing what we're doing, right?
That's very cool. All right. Well, Brandon, we appreciate you being a customer of both Google and Salesforce. And
Very much.
thank you for joining us on stage today. I very much appreciate it.
Thank you.
Give a hand to Brandon.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Brandon. Awesome. Thanks for sharing your story with us. It's fun to hear those stories. Okay, so as a longtime conference presenter, one thing I've learned is I've never had a customer get mad at me for ending a couple minutes early, especially if I'm between you and Dreamfest. So I'm just going to say thank you one more time. Visit the Google booth, visit the Agentforce booth. I'll be around tomorrow. Dr. Ali's easy to get a hold of if you want to talk to the guy from Google. And again, thank you for attending and thank you for being customers and partners. Enjoy the rest of your Dreamforce.